Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard podcast with your hosts, Collin and Braeden Cox. And the NFL regular season has just wrapped up, and we're going to give you our postseason playoff predictions, and we're going to give a little Week 18 preview or not preview reaction. And we're actually going to fill our little brackets here for both the AFC and NFC playoffs and predict our Super Bowl winners. And Braeden and I are going to get right into it here on In the Yard. So, Braeden, let's start with a little reaction to Week 18. A lot going on, a lot of playoff scenarios. I know we went over it in our last episode, but tell me what your biggest surprise was from this past week.
Man, it's tough. Probably if I had to pick one, my I'd have to go with Jacksonville, man. And I
Yeah,
I, I
I
hate
think
to
I
I
knew
hate to
had a
call
feeling
that
going that
like a
way.
surprise because they've been spiraling for the past month or so, right? But you thought like the Jacksonville, like they're playing Tennessee. Yes, it's on the road, but like this is a game that they should win. They've played well against the AFC South pretty much all year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a good spot for them to be in to win and get in. And they were pretty much dominated. Like, you know what I mean? If Tennessee would have won on like a last, like, like a game winning drive or something like that, I would have been like, okay. But like, it felt like Tennessee was a better team from start to finish. I think
Mm-hmm.
that would have to be my biggest surprise is just how Tennessee dominated them.
Yeah, I agree. I just say the Jaguars collapse as a whole is kind of the big surprise because we both kind of had them as a locks in the beginning of the season and midway through the season, and even toward the end there. We thought they were going to definitely be able to make the playoffs, but came up just short. Just before we started here, Jaguars fired their defensive coordinator. So we'll see how it plays out for them next year. But yeah, missing the playoffs. And so that means the Steelers were able to sneak in after the Bills beat the Dolphins and the Steelers beat the Ravens. So let's go to the NFC side of things. I think the big game was the Bucks versus the
The
who they
Panthers.
played, the Panthers. So yeah, they were winning in, took care of business there. And then also there was one more on the NFC side of things. It was
I mean, the NFC East was, for the most part wrapped up. Dallas just really needed to take care of business. The NFC South, like you said, with Tampa Bay, the
mhm,
North with Green Bay. Green Bay locked up their spot to get the seventh
right.
seed. Um, Detroit won, but at what cost? Losing a few key players, including their tight end Sam Laporta. In the West, where you got the 49ers, obviously, is the one seed, but the Rams kind of surging as of late.
Yeah. So not as much going on the NFC side of things. And then again, I guess we'll head back over to the AFC. So we had the obviously the Steelers beating the Ravens, and they were able to punch their ticket in pretty much with that. We already went over the Jags big loss, and then the Bills Dolphins. I think that's the last big one here.
Yeah,
Um, Bills were able to go into Miami, take care of business. I honestly feel like they dominated the entire game. I know the score was only by
absolutely.
7 points, but Josh Allen, did Josh Allen type things, not taking care of the ball, a couple interceptions in scoring position, and also a fumble in scoring position, but we're still able to pull out the win in Miami. And then win the AFC East, like you said they were going to, and overall be able to get that 2 seed for the playoffs here.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight too, just because it gave both teams the opportunity to kind of show who they really are, right? In the biggest moment. It's basically a playoff game. I know both teams were locks. There was a lot on the line, right?
Right.
As far as who was gonna have to go on the road, um, and whatnot, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think I told you this last night. I think the Dolphins showed a lot of what I thought they were at the beginning of the season. Yeah, they won a lot more games than I would have anticipated. Um, but I think, their one win this year against a team with a winning record is the Dallas Cowboys, um, which I told you that the last month of their schedule was going to kill them, and it did. So,
Right. It's a good point there. So I think, Bray, we should get right into our playoff predictions.
yep, let's do it.
I'll start with the NFC. Let's start with the NFC side of
Sure,
things and then go
sure.
AFC. Um, so NFC, we have 7 Packers playing the 2 Cowboys, 6 seed Rams playing the 3 seed Lions. The Stafford return. And then 5 Eagles playing the 4 seed Bucks. So I'm going to start with Packers Cowboys. I really like the Packers' chances in this one, Brandon. I don't know why. I just don't trust Dak in big games. I know the Cowboys are probably the better overall team. But if there's going to be one upset in the NFC, I think it's going to be Packers over Cowboys. And that's what I'm rolling with. I'm more with the Packers. They're hot. Jordan Love is playing all pro football. And I just think they're going to keep rolling and pull off the upset in Dallas. So I'm going Packers beating the Cowboys in the first round. And then so that takes us to Rams Lions. I know the Stafford return is what everyone wanted to see in Detroit, but I think Dan Campbell's Lions are suitable and ready to go. I think he'll have them. I know they have had a couple injuries this past week. I don't think it's going to stop them though. I think they're going to be able to pretty handily beat the Rams. I mean, it'll be a hard fought game, but I'm just taking the Lions in this one. They've been playing good football all year round. I think they're got just overall better solid team. So I'm rolling with the Lions there. And then Eagles Bucks. This is a coin flip really in Tampa Bay. The Eagles have been playing horrible football as of late. Um, but maybe they could pull like an Astros thing or Texas Rangers thing where they didn't play uh, good ball until the very end or up until the very end, and then they got hot at the right time. That could happen with the Eagles, but I'm just gonna roll with the hot hand right now with Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. So I'm going Bucks over the Eagles um, in Tampa. So yeah, those are my wild card NFC predictions. So did you want to do your NFC wild card predictions, or do you want me to keep
Yeah,
going
yeah,
until I finish?
I'll do my NFC, um, and then we can jump to the AFC for the wild card. Then we can fill out the rest.
Okay,
Um,
sounds good.
so I'll start as well with the Dallas Green Bay game. Me being a Green Bay fan, I'm just kind of happy to be here. I'm kind of just riding the Jordan Love train at the moment, because they're one of the hottest teams in football, and it's been a blast to be along. Um, of course, we're the Dallas Cowboys, the 2 seed Dallas Cowboys, so we have to go to AT&T Stadium, and I don't love that for the Packers just because the Cowboys like haven't. I don't know if this is like 100%, but I'm pretty sure they haven't lost a home game in like 2 seasons or close to 2 seasons. I know they haven't this year, so that obviously doesn't play in the Packers' hands. Plus, the Packers are Adam Scheffner tweeted it like the youngest team to make the playoffs in like 50 years or something like that. Like if you
Crazy.
combine every person on the starting
Yeah,
team,
yeah.
like the starting roster and like average their ages, they're like the youngest in 50 years. So that doesn't play in their favor. But me being a Packers fan, they are hot. The Cowboys are hot too. I'm gonna pick them just because I'm a Packers fan. I'm not even hating on the Cowboys here. I have to pick the Packers
No,
because
you
of
have to. You have to hear. Yeah.
um
What kind of fan
and
would you be if you didn't?
exactly. And I don't hate them in the game. You know what I mean? Just because like they've been playing good football lately. I mean, I get like the Cowboys like and Dak and CD have been on a different level this year, right? And the Packers had a great win yesterday, but it was against Justin Fields, and that whole offense kind of looked a mess the whole game. And then the previous week they played Minnesota, and it's Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall or whatever. So it's like they're hot, but like they haven't seen an offense like Dallas in like a couple weeks at this point. Um, so I'm still going to pick them just because I'm a Packers fan. So I have the Packers going to San Francisco in the divisional. And then for that Detroit Rams game, uh, you know, since the LA Rams bye week, you know what the record is? They've played 8 games since their bye week.
7-1, maybe.
They are 7-1. And guess who their one loss is to?
The Lions.
The Baltimore Ravens in overtime.
Wow.
Okay. On that punt return, right? So this team is a play away from being 8-0 since the bye week. How many teams have played Baltimore that close this year? Detroit got blown out. Miami got blown out. There's a lot of good teams that got blown out by this team, and the Rams took them to the wire in Baltimore, too. They went across the country. So I'm picking the Rams here. I like the Rams because they've got the hot hand. I get it's the Lions. They're at home. It's Stafford's return. It might be emotional. He might not care. Both teams will do the trade over 100% again. But I'm picking the Rams here just because they kind of have the hot hand. Um, yeah. So
They also
then
have experience going in their favor. They made the Super Bowl obviously a couple years
this
ago.
is
So
true. This is true. This is a team that's kind of been there, done it. And then you added Puka Nakua to the equation, who's been phenomenal. He's like a mini Cooper Cup now. So it's like they've got two fantastic offensive weapons. Um, that and Detroit's got a young secondary, so they could eat them up. I expect a very
good
high
point.
scoring game here, but it'll be close. And then Tampa Philly. This is probably the hardest game for me to pick this weekend because both teams are kind of Like Philly's been awful the past month or so. Um, they got destroyed by the Giants yesterday. They took Jalen Hurts out, whether injury or not, but the game is basically out of hand anyway. And I know Tampa won, but they won 9-0, kicked 3 field goals. It was kind of messy. Baker looks like he's kind of got an injury, so this game I could see going either way. Um, I guess I'll have just based off recent play. I guess I have to pick Tampa. Right, it's
Right.
in
That's kind of how
Tampa.
I made my pick as well.
I kind of trust them more, as crazy as that is. Like, I never thought I would have been saying that in January, that I trust the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield over the Eagles. And I think this game, I think the Eagles could go in there and win convincingly, right? But is that likely as of what we've seen late?
No.
I don't know. So I'm gonna have to pick Tampa here. Maybe Philly makes me bite my words. But they just haven't played that well. So that means I would have Green Bay going to San Francisco, and then the LA Rams going to Tampa in the divisional.
Yeah, those are solid. So you have Packers, Rams, Bucks, and I have Packers, Lions, Bucks. So pretty similar there. You just went with
Yeah.
the little switch around with the Rams and Lions. Let
Yep.
me just write this down so I have it visual. All right, so
Yep.
that takes us to the AFC wild card side of things. So 6 Dolphins versus 3 Chiefs, 7 Steelers versus 2 Bills, and 4 Texans, 5 Browns. I'm gonna start with the Dolphins Chiefs.
Let's go.
In Kansas City, I know it's supposed to be like 10 degrees. Nothing as of right now has for the Dolphins is going in their favor. But I think it might be my hatred for the Chiefs, maybe the bias because my dad's a Dolphins fan. I'm gonna roll the Dolphins here. I just think if there is going to be an upset in the AFC, I think it's gonna be the Dolphins over the Chiefs. I know you definitely can't count the Chiefs out, even though they have been playing their best football that we've seen them play in previous years. But I don't know. I could see the Chiefs winning by 28 points, but I could also see the Dolphins sticking around in a lower scoring game with the cold. And then, Tyreek kind of doing his thing, maybe Tua gets a little hot, gets a little bit of confidence going, and then is able to pull off the upset in Chiefs. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I just, for some reason, if I'm going to
Gotta pick them.
choose an upset, I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. Um, and then 7 Steelers versus 2 Bills. I just I feel like if I say the Bills are going to jinx and Steelers are going to win, but Bills are one of the hottest teams in football right now, so I'm going to keep going with them in Buffalo. I also saw weather may be a factor in this one as well with snow in the forecast, which kind of favors the Steelers there with the run game and the Bills run game, and Josh Allen won't be able to throw the ball as much. And we've seen it happen last year when the Bengals came to town in Buffalo with that kind of snow. But I'm just rolling with the Bills here. I think they're one of the hottest teams in football besides the Ravens. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna keep rolling with them. And then Texans Browns. This one's kind of a coin flip. Browns defense is kind of not what Texans are going to be used to seeing. CJ Stroud, young quarterback. Um, but this one's in Houston. You have Joe Flacco going for the Browns. CJ Stroud's hot. Okay, big win yesterday to punch their ticket into the playoffs, or 2 days ago, I should say. But I'm going to roll with the Texans again here. So, you know, maybe again a little bit biased because, AFC North rival to my Bengals. But I
Right.
could see this one's just a coin flip, in my opinion. It's going to be depends on kind of who kind of has the ball at the last possession, who's able to make that play in the fourth quarter. That's what it's going to come down to, I feel like. And CJ Stroud has been making plays all year long. So I'm going to keep going with him. So I have the Texans going to Buffalo, and then the Dolphins going to Baltimore, the divisional for the AFC.
Yeah, because Baltimore would get the lower seed. Yes, it would be Baltimore, Miami in that case. Yeah. So great picks there. I'll start with Kansas City, Miami on my end. I know you picked the Dolphins kind of by default here. You've been on the Dolphins train. I've kind of been the opposite all year. I love the Dolphins. I love Tua. I'm a lefty
Anti-fan,
myself,
yeah.
so I can't hate Tua as a lefty myself. Tyreek's been fun to watch. But I think the weather plays a factor here. It's going to be 0 to 10 degrees. We're going to get wind gusts up to 24 miles an hour. That is a disaster for the Miami Dolphins, who, when I checked the forecast last night, I think it was supposed to be like 75 at this time when they would play at home the next week. Um, so definitely a little different. So I'm not going to say they're going to roll, but I have to pick the Chiefs here.
All I'm saying
I j-
is, I feel like once you get moving around with the adrenaline of playing a playoff game, I feel like you won't even feel the cold.
yeah, man. But
Could be a little naive of me.
when you're not used to it, man,
That's fair.
you
I
know
mean,
what
they
I
go to New
mean?
England
Like
once a year. They go to New York once a year. They go to Buffalo once a year.
yeah, and like I told you, like look at who like they went to New England in September. They went to Buffalo in September.
Right.
You know what I mean? They hosted Buffalo in January. You know what I mean? The schedule was dealt, uh, you know,
In
favorably
their
for them. They
favor.
went to
Right.
Baltimore.
Right.
What happened? You know what I mean? They went to Baltimore, cold weather. What happened?
That's
Um,
fair.
so I'm gonna pick the Chiefs here. I don't think it's gonna be like a huge victory, but I trust the Chiefs, especially at home. Uh, it's gonna be cold, wind gusts, all that. Um, so I got the Chiefs there. Bill versus Steelers. I'm gonna also pick the Bills here just because I mean, like, they've been playing great football. It's kind of been a little sketchy, like you said, Josh Allen turnover machine. But they kind of find a way to still dominate games despite being a mess. That last drive by Josh Allen, in last night's game was, in my opinion, like phenomenal. Like one of the best I've seen this year. That run he had on, I think it was third down, was like the definition of clutch. You know what I mean? Um, So I'm gonna pick the Bills there. It's no hate to the Steelers, honestly. I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers won this game if it's a
No,
weird
neither would
weather
I.
game.
Neither would I.
If it's a weird weather game, it wouldn't shock me at all. But
Mm-hmm.
both teams are kind of used to the weather at this point, so I'm gonna pick the Bills there, and then Houston, Cleveland. I'm gonna also pick the Cleveland Browns. Well, no, you picked Houston, no?
I did. I picked Houston. It was
So I'm gonna
tough. I almost changed my
uh
mind last minute, but I was rolling with CJ Stroud because he's
no,
hot
so
right now.
I'm gonna roll with the Browns here just
That's
because I
fair.
think their defense is just kind of unreal. There's a reason why they won 11 games this year. Um, or 11 or 12. I think it's 11.
11.
Um, and yeah, like CJ Stroud, great story. I expect this to be one of the best games of the weekend. These two teams met on Christmas Eve in Houston, believe it or not. And CJ Stroud wasn't available, but the final score was 36-22. So it was a 14-point win. I don't necessarily expect it to go the same way, but I'm gonna pick the Cleveland Browns here. So that would send Cleveland to Baltimore and Kansas City to Buffalo.
All right. Let's go back to the NFC divisional here. We gotta get rolling. We only have a few minutes
We'll be
left in our
quick.
pod.
We'll be quick.
So I have Niners, Packers. Packers going to San Francisco. I'm gonna take the Niners there. One of the hottest teams in football. McCaffrey, Brock Purdy. I think the Packers youth is gonna catch up to them. And I could see the Packers winning against the Cowboys. I can't see them winning against the Niners. So I'm going with the Niners there. And then Lions, Bucks. This one kind of a coin flip, but Lions are the better team. I think the Lions' hardest test would be is the Rams in this first round. So if they get past the Rams, I'm going to have the Lions playing being the Bucks to move on to the NFC Championship game. So I have 49ers Lions NFC Championship game.
Cool. So Green Bay, San Francisco. I love my Packers, but the 49ers have been our kryptonite, and there's no other year that, I would love to beat them more than this year. But I think the road ends here. Still so happy with how the season turned out, especially at the end
Yeah,
there. If you can
got a
end up
promising
losing
future
the
ahead of you
divisional
too.
round, you have a promising future. You're ahead of schedule. Not necessarily a rebuild, but like you're definitely in a good spot for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna pick San Francisco to go to the championship game, and it would be the Rams at Tampa, and I'm going to pick the Rams there. Because I think the Rams are just the better team. I think they keep the momentum going. The Rams went to Tampa a couple seasons ago in the playoffs. Again, it was Tom Brady for Tampa. But that was the year that the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl, I believe. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so
because that's when they beat
I
the
would pick the
Bengals.
Rams in that game just because like Rams have the quarterback advantage, they have the weapons advantage, they have the defense advantage. You know what I mean? They're the better team
Mm-hmm.
overall. So I would have the 49ers and the Rams in the NFC Championship game.
Cool. All right, AFC divisional. So I have Finns versus Ravens and Bills versus Texans. Finns Ravens. Brady gonna hate me for this, but the Ravens have rested their starters for last week, and they also have a bye coming this
Here we
week. They're gonna
go.
start off a little rusty. They'll click, but Dolphins have seen them once, but I'm still gonna roll with the Ravens here. Um, best team in football. You saw what they did to the Dolphins. They've been not only beating teams, but just completely dominating teams. I don't think it's going to stop them. They're well rested now too with the bye week coming up. So just can't count out the Ravens here. And then so that takes me to Texans going to Buffalo. I think the Bills are going to win this one. The youth is going to catch up to the Texans. The Bills again are one of the hottest teams in football besides the Ravens. So I have a Bills Ravens AFC Championship game.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have the exact same on my end. I'm gonna have the Baltimore Ravens defeating the Browns. Joe Flacco going back to Baltimore would be great story, would be so fun to watch. But you know, again, Lamar versus Joe, even if he starts off a little rusty, I still would expect them to win that game, especially at home. And then
Mm-hmm.
the Chiefs, it's a tough one to pick because you can't really trust either team. But the Bills are the better team right now, top to bottom, I would say. I
Right.
think that'd be a really entertaining game. Most of the
Yeah.
times that these two teams meet, especially in the playoffs, it's been in Kansas City because Kansas City's always been like the 1 or 2 seed. But now it would be in Buffalo. I think that's a big advantage for Bills Mafia. So I would have, like you, the Buffalo Bills visiting the Ravens in the AFC Championship game.
All right, so that takes us to the NFC Championship game. Let's go back to the NFC side. I have 49ers versus the Lions. I just I like the 49ers, but I don't love them. I think this is the
Hmm.
year. I think this is the year the Lions, they're gonna have a little bit of an upset here. Lions over the 49ers in San Francisco is kind of my upset, my hot take. But there's gonna be upset eventually. There's gonna be a sleeper team in there. I think it's gonna be the Lions. I like what Dan Campbell's doing with them over there in Detroit, and I feel like they're just gonna get hot at the right time and pull off the upset in San Francisco. So the Lions are going to the Super Bowl.
Yep. So, and then the NFC, I'm gonna have San Francisco versus the Rams, and I'm gonna pick San Francisco, just because I trust them more. There's offensive weapons all over the place. You got McCaffrey, you got Ayuk, um, and then their defense is full of future Hall of Famers. Um, I know it's a division game. Both these teams saw each other, but we have to remember like the one time that the Rams did beat the 49ers yesterday. The 49ers were resting everybody. So I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
different story this time around, and the
Right.
49ers get to the Super Bowl.
Fair point. All right, AFC Championship. I have the Ravens versus Bills. I'm going with the Bills here, Brady. I think this is the
Fair
time.
enough.
I like the Bills. I know they're so streaky. They could go into Baltimore and lose by 40, or they go in and pull off the win. They're just so up and down. But I'm going to roll with them here. So I have the Bills going to the Super Bowl against the Ravens for no particular
And
reason. I just want to see them. Other than I would just want to see them in the Super Bowl.
and yeah, this is a really tough game for me. I think I hate picking both one seeds, but I think I'd have to roll with Baltimore just because at home, I know that doesn't matter as much in the game. But Lamar or Josh Allen, if he's turnover prone, eh, like the Ravens are a team that will take advantage of that. So I would have the Ravens and the 49ers meeting, and
And who wins it, Bray?
I have Baltimore.
All right,
Who do you
fair
got?
enough. I got the Bills winning it all here. Josh Allen
Okay, fair
finally is
enough.
going to get his chance. Up and down season all around, but I just feel like they're going to be able to pull it off here. And I have the
I
Bills winning
respect
Super
that.
Bowl here.
I respect that. I like that pick. We both have them coming out of the AFC. Um, I like that. So you would have Bills Lions.
Yeah, it's
That'd be an interesting
kind
Super
of a hot
Bowl.
take, but all right. Thanks
Yeah,
everyone for
that's
listening. Thanks everyone for listening. Like, comment, subscribe.